Okay, listen up. This is First 5, where I look for games that respect your time and you can enjoy over a weekend. I played a game for 5 hours, and I'm going to tell you if those were 5 hours well spent. Today, we're fighting off the kaiju-esque Vex Swarm in Into the Breach. Subset Games' sophomore outing is a unique entity in the strategy landscape. At a superficial glance, it looks like a tightly tuned Advance Wars, and fans of Subset's previous game, FTL, will see a lot of familiar features, particularly in Into the Breach's roguelike metagame. With numerous side-grade loadouts you unlock over time that shake up how the game plays and give you specific bonus goals to pursue in a given run and provide replayability. But Into the Breach plays very little like either of these games, or like most strategy games in general. Most notably, its turn system works a bit differently. Instead of doing damage right after they move, like you might expect from other grid-based strategy games, the villainous Vec telegraph their attacks, and then you take your turn before any of the blows fall. Every turn becomes its own logic puzzle of how to disrupt the Swarm's best-laid plans. More often than not, you'll be doing that by moving the Vec around. In addition to doing damage, many of the weapons at your disposal can displace an enemy, and as a result, you're just as often manipulating the bug's formations so that they hit each other and block further reinforcements from popping up as you are actually trying to exterminate them. In addition, if you knock a bug into the same space something else already occupies, instead of moving, both targets will take a point of damage. This can set off spectacular chains of impacts if the enemies clump together, but it also means you can level entire apartment complexes as accidental collateral damage, which limits the angles you can tackle a specific problem from. And the reason you're going to be so careful around those apartments is because Into the Breach's win and fail states are also radically different from most strategy games. You will never see a standard "defeat all enemies" prompt at the start of a mission. Instead, your goal is only to survive for a handful of turns before the Vec retreat and you win the day. And you don't lose when your mechs are destroyed. Instead, you have a completely separate health bar called the Power Grid that persists with you throughout your entire campaign. And anytime a building takes damage, the grid takes a hit too. So your mechs aren't the focus. Humanity is. Obviously, you want to preserve both, but in the face of extinction, your force of brave pilots and their hulking robots are expendable shields. And the game's mechanics are a pitch-perfect delivery of that sentiment. Your mech's health bars are resources that you regularly will have to dip into, either to block a Vec from surfacing, or to shield an apartment block from a ball of acid. But the grid's power is a precious resource that is hard to restore and must be protected at all costs. The result of all of this is a departure from how most strategy games play. Into the Breach has a much more deliberate, measured tempo. Only a handful of mistakes separate a victorious campaign from utter defeat, so every turn carries a gravity that forces you to consider all your options before you execute a plan. And the plans you do execute are often much more nuanced than simply trying to wipe the Vec off the map. You need to constantly balance fending off the enemies already on the board with preventing more from showing up, and you need to always consider your surroundings when trying to safely dispose of an enemy. Killing a Vec is all well and good, but if the resulting killing blow sends it careening into a city, you're going to have casualties and damage to your power grid. Sometimes the best you can do is just knock a Vec away so that its attack doesn't hit anything, and just leave it to be dealt with next turn. But it also means that when you fail, and you will, it feels like if you just adjust a few things, you might see victory next time. If you just didn't spread your mechs out so far that they couldn't help each other in a critical moment, if you had just focused more on preventing Vec from surfacing, if you had just not forgotten that there was a city behind that mech you moved out of harm's way. Every time I lost, I had ideas on how to improve next time, and more importantly, I always immediately wanted to jump back into another round and put those ideas to the test. So let's get to our verdict. Into the Breach is a fantastic and unique experience, and I have scarcely anything negative to say about it. And while I have seen the ending multiple times now, there's so much replayability in this game that just like with FTL, it will be a go-to for me for a long time to come. Most importantly, Into the Breach is a perfect fit for this channel. It takes 5 minutes to learn and dozens of hours to master. You can complete a run in just an hour or two if you skip some islands, but like its predecessor, Into the Breach offers a ton of replayability, even after you've beaten it. You can get just as complete an experience if you beat it once and put it down, or face the Vec across hundreds of timelines with dozens of different loadouts. The only reason I could see someone not liking this game is if they were looking for something more narratively focused, as the few narrative flourishes that are present are there mostly to give an in-world explanation for the game's mechanics. But mechanically, this game is a tightly balanced clockwork masterpiece. You always stand on a razor's edge, only ever one desperate ploy ahead of being overrun, but the game never feels unfair. If the situation spirals out of control, it's because you let it. If there isn't a solution, you're probably just not getting creative enough. And when you do finally save humanity, you earned it. And then it's time to go back and do it again. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode of First 5. If you did, like, subscribe, or best of all, share this video around wherever you can. Into the Breach by Subset Games is available on PC for $15, and if you get it before March 6th, you'll get a free copy of FTL with it. I'll see you all next week.